Let's go. Okay. Woo! All right. All right. Well, that game will just have you pulling out your hair, won't it? Mavs down. And then they pull it out in the end. I'm getting ahead of myself. What's up? My name is Bo, or at Mavs Highlights on Twitter X. Welcome to TMP, the Mavs Pod. This is my first time live streaming, so you'll have to forgive the embarrassing hiccups or the editing mistakes or problems like that. Here we've got a few things that are happening on behind me here. We've got the main screen, the TMP. We've got the 30K, which is the high level view of the game. Then we're going to dive in a little bit into the box, and then we're going to give you guys a chance to sound off, read some stuff off of X. I still call it Twitter. And also, if anyone's chatting in the chat, hopefully going to engage with you guys. So let's jump into the 30K. Oh, it's kind of groovy. Let's turn that down. There we go. Well, I mean, there was never a doubt, right? Never a doubt? No, be honest. Be honest with THJ was chucking a few air balls when Exum missed, what was it, 3 straight amazing looks. Was it 3? I felt like it was 3. Man, my heart was going, oh, tonight is not the night. Luka's clearly not having a Luka kind of night. Kyrie was doing Kyrie things. So you're sitting there with the hope, right? The level of hope is starting to go like, okay, Kyrie might do his thing. I'm wearing the same hat 2 games in a row. I'm just going to keep rocking this hat as long as they keep winning. The idea is to wear a different bit of Mavs gear every different stream. But if they're winning, you gotta stay, right? You gotta stay with the winning hat. You know, I'm not too superstitious, but I'm not stupid either. Oh my gosh. Man, that first half was like blunder after blunder after blunder. They just couldn't seem to get out of their own way. Luka looked slow and sluggish. How many times did he turn the corner and then just kind of drive into a guy? Several times he lost the ball in those moments. PJ Washington, who I love, who had an awesome game last game where we blew the Kings out. No. Tonight, the shot was betraying him. And man, those looks are good, right? You want him taking good looks. Now, I've been railing against the coaching staff for putting him in the corner again and again, when historically that is not his look. Like if you go back and look at his years in Charlotte, that is not a shot And for the last 2 seasons that he's hit it all. And in his tenure with the Mavs, for a while, he was shooting like 15, 17% from the corner three, the best shot in the game. It's just a shot that he doesn't see. Like, you know, as a shooter, as a high school shooter, right? Like, I was a good shooter, though. There are certain spots on the floor that maybe you don't see like other people see. And maybe PJ doesn't see the corner. I don't want to make excuses for him, but the shot is a good look. It's a great shot. And yet it doesn't look like a good look coming off his hands most times. But even he was able to come through in that second half. That first half was kind of scary, right? Gafford didn't seem to be very effective against Sabonis. You're thinking, oh man, here's one of those Sabonis big games. And he did end up with a triple-double. I don't know if you caught that, but he did end up with the trip-dub. Fox, not a great shooter, but lightning quick, right? If you can keep him out of the paint where he can go to that lefty floater, I don't fear him. But man, if you let him just stand there like the Mavs did a couple times, just stand there, look down at his feet, find the laces on the ball, and then just pull up and shoot an open three, he's gonna hit enough of those, right? He's gonna hit enough of those. But then they kept grinding in the second half. They kept grinding. They kept showing that tenacity, kind of that hard edge, right? Man, what were you thinking? Were you feeling like this was going to go down as an L, or were you believing? Did you have faith? I don't know. I don't know where I stand. I don't know where I stand with. I don't know where I stood with the game tonight. It was feeling like it was going to be a loss to me. That's what it was feeling like. But man, okay, let's go ahead and jump into the box and see what we got here. Let's move and kind of like look at the game at a little closer level. So here we got the box. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's see here. Here it is. All right, cool. So here we've got Mavs 107-103, tight game. First quarter didn't look good, 34-26. Second quarter, we started evening it out, but they still had a nice little lead there. Second quarter, I didn't pick up on this. Second quarter was 22-22, so both offenses took a pretty significant step back, right, in that second quarter. And then look at the divide. Look at the distinction. Look at the difference in that fourth quarter where the Mavs started separating themselves, right? My mom would say the wheat separates from the chaff, right? And here are these two teams that were hustling and grinding and fighting. And if you're Sabonis, I mean, I guess you just elbow your way to the top, right? You just push and elbow, and doesn't seem to get called for it very often. I don't feel like it's that sneaky, do you? I feel like it's happening like right there in the open. It's like right in front of God and everybody. And yet he doesn't get the whistles. He doesn't get the foul calls that he deserves. So he just spins around like a top, flailing his elbows into people, creating space. And then he's got great touch, right? He's got great footwork. He's got great hands. But that doesn't give you license to smash people in the face. All right, so in the fourth quarter, the Mavs clearly separate themselves. They make up all the distance. Throughout the second half, they were getting close, and then they'd have a couple threes hit by the Kings, and they'd get that separation again. But as it comes down to it, as it often does in good games, right, in really close games between two good teams, who can execute? Who can execute? And the Mavs were once again the team that was able to execute. So here we've got, let's look at some of the stats here. Mavs shoot 47% from the field. Really, after an astoundingly bad start from three, they end up shooting almost 43% from three. They left 11 points. They left 11 points at the free throw line. 22 of 33. That's not good. It's amazing that they were able to grind out this win with that bad of free throw shooting. Turnovers, pretty amazing. Only 10 turnovers is pretty great, but the Kings matched them there. Rebounds, the Kings got the better advantage here, just by a few there. Blocks, Mavs are going to win that most nice 6-1. Only one block for the Kings. Yeah, they run pretty short. And then the defensive rebounds, we got them by 1. Offensive rebounds, they got us by 4. That makes sense. And then points off of turnovers. There were very few turnovers for both teams, so 13-12. And then points in the paint. The Kings, that felt right. The points in the paint, they were won by the Kings. All right, so let's keep going here. So here we've got Mr. Kyrie Irving, Mr. Clutch, Mr. Fourth Quarter himself. Gives us 30 points, 3 rebounds, 69% field goal shooting, 11 for 16. 11 for 16 from Mr. Clutch, from Mr. Kyrie Irving. 3 for 5 from 3. And is there anything more beautiful than a Kyrie break pull-up 3? Man, it just feels like it's going to go in most of the time, doesn't it? Of course, he's going to hit his free throws, 5 for 6. 80% true shooting. That's awesome. And clutch buckets. Clutch buckets. I was a little confused or surprised why they weren't forcing the ball to Kyrie in those late second, closing second situations. They kept kind of going to Luka, but man, Luka has been hitting his free throws. And so there we go. That's good. But Kyrie, man, just absolutely a stud tonight. Here we've got some Luka Doncic action. And, of course, he's coming off of those sore Achilles. Once again, was questionable and then was made available right before game time. Played 40 minutes. Played 40 minutes. And as rough as his game seemed, he was still 6 of 14 from the field, and that includes 8 3-pointers. He was 4 of 8. 10 for 14 from the free throw line. He's going to want to make a couple more of those, I'm sure. Still a +6 on the night. 12 assists, 9 rebounds, so almost a trip dub from Luka. And the way the media talks about it, it's only a good game if it's a triple-double, right? Heck no. Luka gutted this out. You know, every time the camera would cut to him, he's grimacing, he's grabbing his lower leg. You know, he's grinding out there, right? He didn't have Luka doesn't have a ton of burst, right? He's not blowing by people with pure speed and athleticism, but whatever speed he normally does have, he didn't seem to have an abundance tonight. He was getting by on just pure guile tonight. He was getting by on just his own determination and guts, right? Which, man, that was the word. I'm glad I remembered to say it. That was the word I wanted to say for this game tonight. This was a gutty win from a gutty team. This is a team that plays chest out, right? 10 toes up. Like they will stare you in the eye. They will take your, I think, pretty rough to dirty play from Sabonis. I don't think he's like a dirty player. He's just a guy who gets away with a ton of fouls that go uncalled. But this team is not scared of that. I feel like Mavs teams in the past would have wilted in a moment like tonight. Don't you? Mavs teams of the past would have wilted against a team like this Kings team tonight. That's playing physical and getting away with it, right? But the Mavs can say, oh, you want to play physical? You want to play tough? Guess what? That's how we want to play too. That's how we're going to draw it up too. We're going to play physical with Gafford and with Lively and with PJ. We're going to play physical. Our wings are physical. Derek Jones Jr. is physical. Exum is a physical defender. We're not a bunch of soft guys back here. Luka's pretty physical, right? Kyrie's not very physical. He's the exception. But most of this team is a gutty kind of junkyard mentality, right? You got the 2 Lamborghinis over there with Kyrie and Luka. But then everyone else has like the junkyard dog mentality of like, we're going to get in your face. You push us, we'll push you back. Matter of fact, we might push first. But we're going to be the ones to push last. And that's been kind of the identity that's been formed over this game of this stretch of 11 games, where now they are 10 of 11. I think only the Rockets are hotter, and we're going to face them twice to close out the season. I don't know if you knew that. We're going to face the Rockets, the smoldering hot Rockets, twice more before this season ends. So Luka gutted this out. I mean, that's a beautiful stat line from Luka, right? It's not his normal scoring level, which, by the way, he hasn't hit 34 points. He's below 34 as an average now, which, you know, I don't really care about too much, but he hasn't hit 34 in several games. But 26, 9, and 12. That's like, oh yeah, Luka. But if you'd watched, you would have known what an effort it took for him to get those numbers tonight, to contribute to winning. I love how he's determined to get the players involved. I love the passes. There was some sloppy play from Luka tonight. I don't know if you remember it, but yeah, 5 turnovers. That makes sense, right? He was a little careless with the ball. Derek Lively. Let's talk about this young guy. I was talking to Andy Bailey on Twitter. We were just kind of like bragging and fanboying over Derek Lively. And I was just saying, man, it just seems like he has such a high basketball IQ. It seems like he learns lessons and then applies the lessons learned like that, which to me means high IQ, high basketball IQ, right? And that, I think, is one of my favorite things about Derek Lively is he seems to have like a never quit motor. He's always out there screaming and yelling and encouraging his teammates. This from a newly 20-year-old. And he's covering the back line. He's calling out plays. He's calling out picks. He's telling his team where to be. I love this about the kid. But he's got the head. He's got that basketball IQ that will make him a valuable asset to someone like Luka Doncic. And of course, he's got all the measurables that are out the wazoo, right? He's got the length for forever. He's 7'1", and he's got great touch around the rim. I love his passing. I love his I could heap praise upon praise upon praise after this kid. I love Derek Lively. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, only 1 block. I would have guessed it was more than that in just 23 minutes. 5 for 7 from the field. I would have thought he missed more than that. There was a couple plays around the basket tonight that didn't seem like his normal sure-handed self. So maybe some of those weren't considered misses. 2 for 4 from the free throw, and that's where he's got to improve, right? Before, I know the fans love to talk about the potential D-Live three-pointer, but before he's shooting threes, I want him hitting free throws. He's just over a 50% free throw shooter on the season. I don't know if you knew that. I looked that up today, and I was like, oh, dang. It is as bad as I thought it was. He's just about 50%. But, man, Derek Lively is one of those classic guys of, like, the box scores don't do him justice because he turns so many drives away. So many drives stall because he's there in a way that, like, Gafford doesn't do. Gafford is, I think, a considerably better shot blocker. But I think D-Live being in there is more of a deterrent. Like, guys don't want to try him. Like, he's less likely to leave his feet than, say, Gafford is, because Gafford's a natural shot blocker. But I think Derek is out there to kind of like say, no, we're going to go vertical here. That verticality thing, right? You're not going to shoot it over me. You're not going to have good odds on this shot if you're going to challenge me here. And Sabonis, who I think did a pretty good job against Gafford, he struggled more and more. He was a little more effective tonight than he was the last game, but he doesn't like Lively. Lively's longer than him. He's just as quick as him. Now, he's not as clever yet, but give him time. That high IQ will come into play, and he'll get there, right? I think he's just an unbelievable addition to this team and the perfect big for Luka Doncic. So here we've got Dante Exum. Yeah, 2 for 5 from 3. So I think he missed 3 straight. Some of you might be yelling at the screen going, no, it was just 2 straight. It felt like 3 in my brain. I need to go back and rewatch it again. But 22 minutes, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers for the reliable Exum, right? I don't know if you saw Kyrie's post-game interview, but he gave an Aussie call out to Exum, just kind of heaping praise on him. Man, this guy, 2 for 5, 40%, right? He is a solid three-point shooter. The reason he had to leave the league is because he couldn't stay healthy and he couldn't hit shots. He comes back, and now I think he's a better than 50% or just under 50% three-point shooter on the season for the Mavs. Like, when the ball's in his hand and he's open, when it's one of those, Luka behind the back passes or wraparound passes, and he's just sitting there with the ball because the 2 defenders followed Luka, I feel so comfortable. Like, I'm way more comfortable with Exum taking that shot than I am with Timothy Hardaway Jr., right? I don't, like, when Exum's got it, I'm like, good. My heart's like, yes, this is 3. So when he missed those back-to-back or back-to-back-to-back threes that were such good looks, I'm going, well, that's the game, man. You can't miss that many great looks from a solid and dependable three-point shooter. But he got one more chance. And did you see, like, the Kings called timeout after he made that 3 to put him up? And he was like in the center of the court, just like yelling at himself and just like, finally. And his teammates just surrounded him. At the timeout, I recorded it. You can go check it up at Mavs Highlights on Twitter X. And all the teammates are surrounding him and patting on him and cheering. They're freaking out. And Luka at the very end comes up and just like pats him on the back of the head. And you're like, yes. And that's Luka's kind of leadership, right? Luka's the leader who will bark at you, and he's the leader who will praise you. I think Kyrie's more of the kind of that classic leader of men, like a big brother, right? He's the one who's going to come in and rah and cheer everybody up and encourage everyone. Like, remember the report that Kyrie was a huge impact on Hardaway, getting him out of the slump if he's actually out of it. We haven't been able to see after tonight. But if he's getting out of the slump, Hardaway was giving Kyrie a lot of the credit for just being constantly encouraging and telling him to shoot and telling him he's a great shooter and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Luka's doing that. I think Luka's much more like your dad or a drill sergeant. And I think Kyrie's much more like that encouraging uncle who's like, come on, we can do this. We're in this together. And he was doing that for Exum. So Exum just coming through tonight, moving the ball. Anytime he's on the floor, I feel better. Exum to me is kind of the anti-THJ. Like anytime Hardaway's on the floor, I'm just kind of grinding my teeth, wringing my hands, like, please don't. But please, Timmy, don't go 1-on-3 on a fast break. That's not an actual fast break, man. You're driving into 3 defenders. Like anytime he turns a corner and you're like, you're gonna shoot it. Yeah, you shot it. And yet the defender's right there in his face and he's off balance and it's an air ball. Like Exum is the anti-Hardaway to me. When Exum's out there, I just have a calm. There's like a serenity that just kind of comes over my heart where I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, cool. All right. Cool, man. Yeah, I see TGK in the chat. What's up, brother? Yeah, they found a way, man. They found a way. Isn't that awesome? They found a way to win this one tonight. But Exum, even though he was -3 on the night, man, I like it when he's on the floor. Give me as much Dante Exum on the floor as a calming influence, as a connector, as a guy who doesn't get rattled. Like there was an interview, a post-game interview a few games ago where the lady interviewer, I forget her name, I'm sorry, but she asked him, are you getting rattled out there? And this was his comment. This is a paraphrase, not a quote, but it's close to the quote. He goes, no, this is just basketball. I'm not nervous. I'm not scared. This is just basketball. And I was like, oh, well, what an interesting, there's a story behind that kind of perspective that would lead a player to think, well, this is just a game. Now it's my career and I take it seriously, but it's just basketball. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's a story there, and I don't know it. Maybe you know it. If you know it, you can tell me. All right, so then let's look at a few more of these. Sorry, it's kind of janky tonight. I kind of rushed it. Here's Sabonis with his 13 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, 6 of 12 from the field. Didn't take any threes. His lack of free throws, though, 1 of 4 free throws. See that right there? And 4 turnovers. There was a couple sloppy moments, and just about 17 fouls that weren't called. I don't want to be that guy who's like always blaming the refs or something, but like I think with Sabonis it is like an observable phenomenon that this guy plays extremely physical, and I think it's one of those cases where if you're so physical all the time, the refs just start allowing you to do it. Like anytime you hear of a team that has a great defensive reputation, right? Those are also always the teams that get away with the most uncalled fouls, at least from my observations. Like I don't think there's data that we can track on that. I think it's just an eye test thing. If you play constantly physical defense, then the refs just swallow their whistles a little bit more for you, right? Think about all the great defenders. They're also the guys who get away with the most grabbing and pulling and hand checking and all that. The refs just let them get away with that. Vis-a-vis one Mr. Claw, right? Kawhi Leonard. Does anybody get away with more hand checks than Kawhi Leonard? Not in my experience. Yeah, he's not You don't think he's physically skilled? He's physical dirty, not physically skilled. I don't know. I think he's pretty skilled. That footwork is pretty nice. Clarify that if I'm not understanding. You don't think he's a skilled player? TGK? I think he's pretty skilled. I think he's a skilled player who also is incredibly physical and gets away with a lot. Clarify that. Give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear that. If what you're saying is you don't think he's very skilled. Sabonis is physical dirty. So physically dirty. Yeah, and I agree with that. He puts a lot of elbows out there. Not physically skilled. Okay. Tell me what you mean by that, my man. All right. So, and then we got De'Aaron Fox, 9 for 22. That's a great shooting night for De'Aaron Fox, I feel like. 3 for 7 from 3. That's about as good as he's going to give you. 5 assists, only 1 turnover. Really solid stuff from De'Aaron Fox. I think there was a time in his career where people were thinking he was going to be like a number 1. I feel like there was some even an extended stretch last season when the Kings were extremely hot, where Fox was just exploding. And maybe even earlier this season, he was averaging like 30 a game for a while. But I think this stat line is much more in line with who De'Aaron Fox is. 23 points, a few rebounds, a few assists, but not someone who necessarily you can go to get you a great shot, right? He's like a lower level all-star in my mind. He's like a bottom level all-star. Do you agree with that? What do you think? Fox and Sabonis. I don't think they're high level all-stars. I think they're kind of like lower level all-stars. They're not the guys that you feel great having to go to when the game is on the line. Like opposite to Luka and Kyrie. You're like, oh, we got this. We got this. And I think that is going to make the Kings an early playoff exit. I mean, they're going to be playing a higher seed than them, a better team than them regardless, but they don't have someone you can go to absolutely get you a bucket. They've got a really great system and a really good coach in Mike Brown, so he can draw up really great plays. But in isolation, they don't have a guy who can just get a great shot every time. What do you think about that? That's kind of what I'm feeling about the Kings, is they've got a really good system. I think they're more of a regular season team than a playoff team. It's the first time I've said that out loud, but that's what I think about them. Whereas I think the Mavs are going to fare very well in the playoffs. Yeah, like he leans more on his physicality for dirty tactics when he doesn't need to. Oh, there you go. The skills are there, but all I saw was overwhelming amount of dirty basketball moves. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And it's not, I don't feel like it's dirty like old school Karl Malone, where it's like, hey, I'm about to break your nose with this elbow. Like, I don't get that Sabonis is dirty like that, like he's trying to harm you, but I definitely think he has a dirtiness to his play that's like, if you're going to let me get away with it, why wouldn't I? If you remember his Daddy Sabonis, I know that goes way back. I'm old, I'm sorry. I know that goes way back. But Daddy Sabonis was a big hoss. Like, he makes Junior Sabonis look like a tiny guy. What was he, like 7'3", 7'4", but an amazing passer. So Domantas got his daddy's like skill with the ball. He's a decent passer, right? His dad was a phenomenal passer, but his dad was very physical too. So he clearly inherited his dad's game, just maybe not his dad's frame, right? And so then we've got old HB, former Maverick Harrison Barnes, was really much kind of a thorn in our side tonight for an extended portion of the game. 39 minutes. I didn't realize he played most of the game. 39 minutes, 20 points, 8 of 19, only 1 of 4 from 3. And those threes he missed were good looks. Made all 3 of his free throws, but also contributed to a play at the very end that cost the Kings. He made a pass that I thought Fox should have been able to get to, but they just misconnected. I think it was both of their faults, and the ball was a backcourt violation to the Mavs, which really, in effect, sealed the game for the Mavs, because then it was just a free throw shooting contest, and the Mavs are going to win a whole lot of those. All right, so let's go to sound off. Let's go to sound off here. There I am. Cool. All right, so let's look for some recent. Oop. Here we go. There we go. Interact. All right. Let's see here. What are you feeling tonight? What are you feeling? I asked. Darth says confidence. Confidence, baby, confidence. Ro Blackman, right? Kind of stressed and relieved, Big Toaster Dog. I love that name. Big Toaster Dog. Heck yeah. Scott says over here in the chat, D-Fox was so much harder for us a year ago. Oh, that is a great comment. Right now we've got the length with the speed. We're not all just little guys, right? Because he's going to be faster than the fast guys. But now we've got the speed with the length. We've got the athleticism and the grit, I think, to give him a harder time. And we've got, pretty much a guarantee of a 7-footer on the back line waiting for you. You may beat our guards, but then we're going to have someone rotating over to stop you. And he's not a phenomenal passer. He's not a phenomenal playmaker. Like he's okay, but he's not phenomenal, right? He's not Luka. He's not Kyrie. I don't even think he's like Mike Conley. He's more of a scoring threat than a facilitating threat in my mind. Yeah. Hella Good says Kings look like the play-in team that they are. Oh, I like that trash talk. We can do that now, right? We can have that trash talk now. And then Sherwin says, glad we have Kyrie. Oh, heck yeah, man. Is there any like greater peace that can kind of just come to your heart in a tight game when you know it might come down to either clutch shooting or clutch free throw making? And you're like, oh, we got Kyrie. I literally, once we had the lead with under a minute, I was like, oh, Kyrie. I don't, you guys tell me, are you different? Like I'm sitting there going, oh, it's Kyrie time. It's weird because I'm not thinking, oh, it's Luka time. Is that okay? Can I admit that? Is that all right? Is it okay for me to say that? I'm thinking, oh, it's Kyrie time because he's basically one of the most clutch shooters of all time, period. But also, and without a doubt, one of the greatest clutch free throw shooters of all time. Like when you get down in that final minute and you've got a lead, you're like, oh, game. Call it. You kind of feel like looking over at the other team and going, y'all want to call it? We good? We good? Y'all ready? Oh, you want to play it out? Okay. Because you know we got Kyrie Irving over here. You know who we got, right? Yeah. It's going to go our way. Unless it all falls apart for some shenanigans, it's all going to go our way. All right, so a few other people. The real deal. Most important win of the season, man, it sure feels like it, doesn't it? Started off like crap, but came back to win. Absolutely. What a great one. CJK. This is a championship level team if a couple things go our way. Well, as much as I'm not a fan, I'm a Mavericks fan. And so if you get Tim Hardaway Jr. hitting open shots, if you get PJ Washington hitting open shots, this team could beat anybody in a 7-game series. So those are kind of like the two caveats that I throw out there because the defense is going to be there. It is. It's there. Luka and Kyrie are going to be there. If healthy, Luka and Kyrie are going to be either the best two players on the court or right there with anybody else. They'll definitely be usually the two best shot makers on the court, which in the playoffs is what matters. Shot making, play making, bucket getting. So, yeah, if Hardaway, Exum, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, if those guys can even just be league average at hitting wide open threes, this team could be anyone in a 7-game series. And when I say anyone, I mean the Nuggets and the Celtics. Those are the two teams, right? Those are the two teams I think of when I say anyone. I mean the Celtics and the Nuggets. I'm not saying we'd be favored, but I'm saying I wouldn't be shocked at all if we gave them an amazing go of it and even came out on top. Because you have Luka and Kyrie. And you got everything else you need if the support guys are supporting. El Capitan, pissed that the Clippers got lucky in back-to-back. Yeah, absolutely. There was a huge opportunity for those Clippers to fall. And they gutted it out, man. They've got Kawhi Leonard. They got Paul George hit a tough bucket over Jonathan Isaac tonight. Did y'all see that? That was a tough bucket. All right, so okay, we love Kyrie. He's 1A, 1B, not 1 and 2. Okay, I like that. Yeah, TGK. Yeah, I was liking the clutch time the Mavs take your heart away. That's right, man. That's a great way to say it. They just take your heart away. You lose hope. You think about Star Wars when Princess Leia is calling out to Obi-Wan, "You're our only hope." Yeah, the Mavs are like, you got no hope. This is our game now. If you let it stay close, especially if you let us have a lead with a minute to go, call it. It's game, right? That's how it feels. Yeah, Sherwin says Batman came through. What was Luke is so kind of like humble, right? He's like, I'm Robin. No, Luka, you're Superman. Kyrie is not going to nearly be able to put up the 40 and 40 plus point nights like Luka will. He just doesn't have that. I don't think that gear of dominance. Like his size does limit him. His shot making is second to nobody. He's second to none. But Luka's Superman, Kyrie's Batman. I love that. Yeah. One of them is an alien from another planet, and the other one is the most skilled, greatest detective in the world, right? Who can solve any problem. I think those two comparisons actually kind of fit their games a little bit. Luka does things and you're like, how he do that? How does that guy do that? He's so big and so wide and looks so slow, and yet he's at the cup. laying it in again and again and again. How does he do it? And obviously, through analyzation, we can figure out how he does it, but it's just like otherworldly, right? And then Kyrie just is he's just the great scientist out there, dicing you up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys, this is the first time I've had a live, so I'm sorry if I'm new to all this. If you can, hit the like button. I've been told, and I've watched enough live streams, that it really helps the stream. So thanks, TGK. Hit the like button if you can, guys. That'd be great. All right, let's keep moving. Steve McGee says, proud. How does he feeling tonight? Proud and worried. Proud of our boys for clawing back and finding a way to win the game. Worried for Luka's health. I don't want to think like that right now, Stevie. I don't want to think like that. But yeah, if this is something that lingers, health is one of those things that will hold us back. Health is one of those things that's like, oh, we would have had him. We would have won it in 7, or we would have knocked him out in 5, but ... health, you know? And man, hasn't this team, dang it, haven't we had enough health issues this season? There was I can't remember who it was. Someone I really like on Twitter posted just a count of all the games missed by like Exum and Kyrie and, you know, all that, you know, Josh and Luka's even, I think he missed 9 games or something like that. Maybe 7 or 9. It's just it was just a count of all the missed games. And you're like, yeah, that's enough to just absolutely lead to a train wreck of a season, but it hasn't. And you got to give some credit to Jason Kidd. I know. Not my favorite coach either. But this streak we've been on, you have to tip your cap to the head coach. If we're going to scream about him when he was a dundering idiot and they're forgetting how to cut off the back line for layup after layup, then over an 11-game stretch like this, and really since the trade, the Mavs have been one of the best teams in the league. We have to be able to step back enough and kind of acknowledge that, okay, some of this is definitely Kidd's leadership, right? Some of this is definitely Kidd. Yeah says, let's see here. Yeah says, these are games that create contenders. Oh my gosh. I like the way y'all are talking, man. I like that. C Million says, those back-to-back wins was very much needed. I agree. They definitely were. Yeah, Thumper, again. Yeah, more wins. Keep stacking wins. The West is unforgiving. The West is unforgiving. Absolutely. Green says, a freaking amazing. A freaking amazing. Absolutely. And then my guy over here, Dallas Mavs Down Under. Oh, an Aussie fan. Excuse me. Needs a beer. Go get one, man. Go get one. You deserve it. And then to close us out, Michael says, just the old Al Bundy. Oh, yeah, just loving it, right? Just loving it. All right, that's some good stuff. All right, let's hold on. Let me move this around. There we go. All right, so the scores. Let's just do a quick rundown of the scores, right? So Pistons, Wizards, that has no effect for us. Clippers did clutch out that win against the Magic. It was really nice late game bucket there from Paul George, right over the outstretched hand of Jonathan Isaac. Like the play before, Isaac had a monstrous block, and you're like, oh yes, the Magic are gonna win this game. And then Paul George just clutched it out, man. It was nice. Pacers just crushed the Lakers. That's good for the Mavs. The Warriors crushed the Hornets. That's not so great, but whatever. I think that's a dying team. And then let's see here. Anything else that pertains to us? Brunson. Did y'all see that Brunson went for like 60 plus? Last I saw it was 61 tonight. And a loss to Wembanyama. I think Wemby had something like 40 points and 20 rebounds tonight. Yeah, that's a problem as a Mavs fan. That's not a good thing. You know what is a good thing, though? Is that I think on a night where SGA did not play, the Thunder just walloped the Suns. The Suns might be unraveling. Suns in 4. Yeah, right. And then the Wolves took it to the Nuggets. Okay. And then look at that. Ah, crap. The Rockets edged it out against the Utah Jazz. I would have really liked the Rockets to lose tonight. That would have been a nice development. But they stay hot. I think they've won like 11 straight. Is that right? Is it 11 straight? Oh, man. They are scorching. All right, so unless anyone else has any comments or questions, anything else going on, I think I've already addressed everything in the chat here. I think so. Man, feels good. So now it's 10 out of 11, right? 10 out of 11. That's legitimate. This team is legitimate. Tim Legler wasn't wrong. Like, his praise has been deserved. Any team that can win 10 out of 11 isn't just hot. That's a good team. And they're doing it with defense, right? They're doing it with defense. This wasn't some high-scoring affair. They're grinders. You know who they're kind of starting to look like? Jason Kidd. They're starting to take on that grinder, blue-collar, dive for every ball, fight for every rebound, never say never kind of attitude. I know a lot of people online didn't see Jason Kidd or have only seen the highlights. But other than being a phenomenal legend, which he absolutely is on the court, not as a coach, but as a player, he's one of the greatest of all time. I'd have him as a top 5 point guard, I'm pretty sure, all time. He was a grinder, man. You weren't going to out-grind him. You weren't going to out-fight him. You weren't going to out-tough him. You weren't going to out-defend him. There were things you could do better than him, but you weren't going to do those things better than him. And that seems to be the kind of team that Nico has given Jason Kidd. I'm putting my cards on the table. Jason Kidd's one of my all-time favorite basketball players. I grew up in the 80s and 90s watching those Mavs teams. The glory of the 80s falling short against the classic Lakers squad, the Showtime Lakers. But then the tragedy that was the 90s, where they're the worst basketball team in all of sports or all of the NBA for a whole decade. Seasons where they only won 11 games, only won 13 games, things like that. Jason Kidd came along and brought us hope. Jason Kidd came along and gave us electricity. And yeah, there was the 3 J's, but it was really Jason Kidd. He was the one. He was the one. And this team just kind of farted all that away. But Dirk. I'm not going to live in the past, right? 10 out of 11. 10 out of 11. That makes me feel real good. 10 out of 11 and what feels like a lock on at least the 6th seed. You guys have a good one. Frickin' go Mavs.